moving to the panel discussion. Basically, I want to start with asking Markus Lintel a question, and then afterwards Bernd. Your opinion, what are the main drivers and challenges for waste heat recovery projects in energy-intensive industries, and how does ORCAM address these?
And now I have 1 minute to answer that.
Yeah, 20 seconds. Now I can
30
take,
seconds starting now.
you can take 3 minutes,
Uh,
I think. Yeah.
okay, so first, thanks for the question. Even though we like to talk about the solutions and not the challenges, but I try to put it in there. So I think what I also mentioned in the presentation is that it's most important that there are convincing economics, period. So it must be a business case. That's it. That is what our customers want to see in the business case. Is not just spendings versus savings, and that's the payback. No, it also, and that's, I would say, not the solution, but it's a wish to the politics as well, provide clear and supportive frameworks. I would say, if I look on the presentation in the morning, there was mentioned something, yeah, we want to reduce the energy costs and also increase energy efficiency. Yeah, if you reduce energy cost, then energy efficiency becomes less important, or less, that the payback gets longer, period. So and we need both. There is no discussion about energy resilience, that you also have to reduce your electricity or energy consumption in general. And it's possible. I mean, just put for a lower electricity price, for example, a value or a requirement that they have to fulfill basic energy efficiency measures, for example. Then they both can reduce the electricity consumption or the energy consumption, and also benefit from low energy costs. But that's something where we need clear guidance, not just we, but the customers. That's at least what I see in our discussions with the customers we have. Otherwise, they could also just say, yeah, then we wait until maybe the electricity price goes down, and then it's not viable anymore. So there, I think a clear framework also for the funding. There is funding available, and everywhere a little bit different. There are good things that work without any big complexities. There are some where your customers have to apply for 10-15% funding 2 years in advance. That is also not really helpful. So a very clear and supportive framework here would be as well interesting. Now, of course, that's everybody in the energy sector always has make some wishes to the politics, but coming back also to us and the customers, what can we do? What are the challenges? I think still it's complex what energy efficiency measures are. So you have to touch your process, you have to change your process, your very, very well running process. And therefore we need to reduce the effort as much as possible for the end customers. So the one-stop shop mentioned, completely autonomous operation. We bring in all the money in finance solutions, flexible concepts, so that you don't, in our case, have to be fixed on the heat now for the next 15 years. Now you can change heat users, and that's something I think we have to work on, or we work on, and we think we provide here a good solution. And that's also when you see which projects we win. Most of them we win because of arguments like that. Most of the projects we lose, we don't lose against competitors or something else. We lose it against doing nothing. It's still too complex for the customers, and economically at the end not viable to do those projects. But these are some things. And then also one wish to the customer, where we have a lot of very, very, very good positive examples, is we need willing supporters at the end customer, both before the signature, so a little salesperson for us within the customer who is willing to do such a project, who also is willing to go in their gate processes, is willing to answer also critical process, do the extra mile that's simply necessary if you want to do something. But also people after the signature. So once we use it as a reference, I mean, the best salesperson in my team, nothing against my team, but is definitely the existing reference client who talks positive on a site visit to a potential future customer. That's even without me there. Some of them call them without us knowing that. And to have their engaged customers which like that. And it's also nice, we built something, steel structure, you can show it, some show it even to their children. That's something they're proud of, and this spirit is something, if I could wish, I like to have with the customers. I see it a lot at the customer, not saying that they are not like that, but always similar with funding and other wishes, the more the better and the quicker we are at the end, because we are on a race. That's what I can just confirm what the European Commission guy said. We are not alone here. So we see a lot coming from Asia.
Yeah, thank you very much. If there's any questions from the audience, think about them and maybe put them in the chat or raise your hand. Bernd Lieber is next, and then we have Veronika, and then a question for Aleki. Veronika Riemer is after Bernd Lieber, yeah. So Bernd, which industrial processes are particularly suitable for the decarbonization through heat pumps, and where do we still face technical limitations?
Yeah, also this could be a very long answer. I want to shorten it a little. So because almost any industrial process with consistent low to medium temperature heat demand can be an option for us, especially when there is a waste heat at the moment already there. There's food processing, chemical production, paper manufacturing. So there are many ideal candidates for such a heat pump integration. And these sectors often produce usable waste heat and operate continuously. And this is, as I mentioned it also in my presentation, very important to improve the efficiency and also the return on investment to lower that. And I'm in the same area as Markus said, we do need these internal supporters. So we really need to have these people fighting for this system and fighting for the future, because even if we calculate a very good business case, even if we have it already, and sometimes it really happens that it stops at the financial department of the company. So then any time it comes to the CFO and he says, "Oh, 3 years, that's too long," and or the demand is too high. So it's really unbelievable what topics we're facing there, and we really have to fight together to get these projects done. The unfortunate topic is that sometimes it's pretty hard to find successful projects, because many of them have the confidentiality agreement, so you're not able to put all them across. But we have so many opportunities already built. So because of this, I show these projects we've done to see what's possible everywhere. And the disadvantage of the heat pumps is that you sometimes don't see it. Yeah, you don't know where heat pumps are all in. You see PV and solar thermal installations all over, and everybody has it, but you don't see if a neighbor of you already does it with a heat pump, for example. And what's still a challenge for us is the temperatures, because there are some technical limitations. We want to, as I described it, we want to figure it out if it helps. At the moment, series production is possible up to 120, 130 degrees C. We need our sensors, even they have to come a little bit more in detail, because sensors above 100 degrees C, 120 degrees C are not capable at the moment to get it in the series production. We are already talking about 150, 200 degrees C, as I mentioned in the presentation, where even water is coming up as a refrigerant opportunity. But yeah, we're looking on that. Efficiency drops, and also for the subsidies, it's pretty important that they widen their view, because they're still looking at the standard operating point, water 10, water 35. So that's not feasible for that project anymore. We have different temperatures, and there it's very important that the funder is, even when we have it, we need to take it. For us, it would be even better. I think Markus is with me. Just raise up the gas price, and nothing. Is anything against the heat pump or anything like that. So this is the big advantage. Would also be good for the parliaments on their own. Yeah, but this is where we're standing at the moment.
Yeah, super. Thank you very much, Bernd. Next is Veronika Riemer, the lead buyer energy efficiency decarbonization at ArcelorMittal?
Yes, so I'm the potential counterpart of Markus, as we already had some previous discussions, and hopefully you will not further increase the gas price, because that would also lead to more issues for us.
Perfect. So glad that you already know each other. So the question is, what are, from an industry perspective, currently the biggest challenges to investment into energy transition, decarbonization, and energy efficiency measures?
Yes, I think we already touched several points, and it's, well, high gas price or not, a high electricity price or not, but it is one important point is the business case, and the business case is related to the volatility of the energy prices. So when we are checking business cases for projects, for energy efficiency or decarbonization means, we also need to check what is the performance on the long time. And I saw some energy prices stated in the previous presentation of 100 euros per megawatt hour, but that is not realistic for all the countries. And there is also a volatility. So in summertime, most likely, the price is lower. So we are also internally judged on defining a business case where it's clear that we have a positive outcome. And with the European Union trading system on energy, that makes it sometimes difficult. Also, the CO2 certificates, although they show on the long term an upwards trend, there is still volatility because it depends on what's going on in the market. The other thing what Markus also mentioned was what is with the process. We are adding risk with new systems to our processes. What frame conditions can we set to optimize that and reduce the risk? So therefore, we also work with energy as a service contracts to have a certain guarantee on A, the product is working, but B, also that the suppliers are acting quickly if our process is affected. And then, of course, what we maybe all know from the media, the steel industry in Europe is under pressure. So we are anyway a volatile industry. We have a market cycle which going up and down. But with the imports and with the issues of CBAM, we, of course, have higher pressure. And also, coming back to discussions about implemented taxes to import products, we also have to face it that countries around us outside the European Union also developed further in certain parts. So China would be quite quickly able to deliver a certain capacity of low emission steel. And for the last point, which in the European Union environment is, of course, the subsidy schemes. As Markus already mentioned, there is a high variation between the different countries, but there is also a variation in how European Union regulations are interpreted. So coming to a project which is currently failing because one nation changed the adoption of the European Union regulations, and therefore energy as a service is not applicable for subsidies. That's, of course, has a high impact because we are talking about funding from 10 to 30% of the investment, which is absolutely relevant in the condition we are in with the European Union market in terms of steel market, but also in terms of energy.
Super, Veronika, thank you very much. Quick question to Aliki. It is said that SMRs are safer than traditional reactors. Could you kind of give your opinion and maybe argument on this?
Okay. Yeah, so that's often what you hear, that SMRs are safer than traditional reactors. Well, as I've shown that SMRs are coming in different categories, and they have different technical features and different ways of safety, so to say. What is true is that most traditional reactors are existing and they're already running for decades. and the development of technology at that time was, of course, less advanced than it is now. Those reactors, also the big ones that are constructed now, are indeed safer because of the new insights, because of new equipment than the older ones. And this is also then built into the smaller reactors. On top of that, when the smaller reactor is based on water-cooled reactor technology, then the same idea, the same principle applies, that there is a potential source of radioactive release, and we're trying to contain that with all kinds of active systems. When you go smaller, it's possible to replace those active systems. That means that they need motors or electricity to actually function. They can be replaced by passive systems. So like a pool of water on the top of the reactor that just cools the reactor in case of an emergency. But the other types sometimes offer additional features in safety, especially the high temperature reactors. They have, as I told, this specific feature that you can really turn off the cooling, and it becomes less dependent of cooling than the other reactor types. And that is because of these high resistant materials and the low power density. So yeah, in practice, it is all the time, it is possible, or it is true to say that the new reactors are safer than the old ones. And on top of that, the smaller reactors have an additional advantage because they're small. Maybe I should say a little bit on the other two types. The molten salt reactors, the ones with liquid fuel, they have this feature that salt, when it cools down on regular room temperature, it becomes solid. So if there would be a leak, it would seal itself. But yeah, there are a lot of scenarios where this does not really apply. So the emergency safety systems are still much needed there. And same thing with the lead-cooled and the sodium-cooled reactors. They will need the safety systems, which will be built in, because otherwise you don't get a license. There's the licensing of the reactor works the other way around. There are certain safety requirements, and you have to show that you, with your large or small reactor, that you comply with them, and then you get your license. It's not the other way around.
Okay, super. Thank you very much. Markus Lintel, a quick question, maybe if you can, 1 minute. The new product you presented, EP1000, how does it compare to your previous products, and where do you see its primary application?
Got the message. So from technical perspective, we work with higher temperatures. That's why we have higher efficiencies. We're in the range of 10% before, 20% before we were at 10. And it's higher output, so 1.5, 1.7 megawatt instead of a few hundred kilowatts. What are the main applications? Gas turbines worldwide, geothermal, that was the driver, I would say. So large heat sources with the high temperature or enough high temperature, we're demanding it, that we develop a product and not do it just case by case. But also some industries like cement or something like waste incineration, hazardous waste installation. So that's something that's what would be saying that's one of the main application and the driver that we developed that. However, we learned, or we took all the learnings, which was also mentioned that it's important from Veronica, for example, that we are flexible and also in the future that we can change modules and adapt to varying heat sources. Also the point that we are robust, completely factory tested, and then all the learnings we took, and learnings, meaning what the customer love about the approach, what we had, so what we took into the EP1000 as well. And we didn't stop selling the EP200. It's main product still, but just for other heat applications where you have lower temperatures.
Super. Very quick answer. Bernd, the same, maybe 1 minute. How can we ensure that companies initiate the necessary investments on industrial heat pump technology despite high upfront costs and then also complex decision-making process?
To be honest, I think most of the question is already answered because it's this building this trust into a company, getting the people together, internal sales people who's going upfront with this information, also insight that it's critical to build this trust through the pilot project, expert support. Sometimes even when they have a huge demand of heat, they have a huge opportunity of waste heat. Start with a small first project that everybody can see how it's work, especially working together with heat pumps. They are, I say all the time, they are a little bit diva. Yeah? They have to be really, it's critical to work with it. They need water flow and they need temperature, but it's very important to get a feeling how it's working in your process. So don't cut off your process in a second, but there's so many opportunities. And when you have the small steps done there, and this is one opportunity, and the second is finding some companies who are willing to take over the capex and then going really to sell energy in the system can also be an opportunity for this whole growth of this heat transition, what we were talking also all day long, or whole energy transition where we have to come in. This is the really main topic. Take the first small step and we will grow up immediately.
Okay, super. Thank you very much. Veronica, one question. What difference do you see between the EU and non-EU markets in terms of energy transition, decarbonization, and energy efficiency measures?
Yeah, I think we already mentioned several points. It's like we are in the European Union, but we still have to face different regulations, different energy markets, different subsidies in all the different nations of the European Union. But also what I can see in other countries outside the European Union is that it's differently regulated also from the state, and also the volatility of the energy market is definitely not given in a lot of countries where we're currently making big investments, because there you have a clearer perspective on what to expect in the next years. I think that is a major point. We need security, of course, of the steel market in the European Union and to safeguard the European Union steel market, but we also need a bit more clarity on what to expect on energy prices and CO2 certificates in the next 5 to 10 years in the European Union to go the way and really do the investment. Also, we have really complicated approval procedure, as Bernd said.
Okay, yeah, super. Thank you very much. And Aliki, one question. So you mentioned it that SMRs can be pretty competitive because of this modular, maybe the aircraft industry. Is it now, are they maybe more competitive than, or could they become more competitive than the classical bigger reactors, or do these still have a larger or better economies of scale because basically larger projects?
It all depends on the numbers. If you see now that these reactors are starting to be planned in small series, like in Canada at the moment 4, same in Texas also 4. And of course, if it remains with these 4, they're going to be much more expensive than the big reactors per kilowatt installed. But if this is initiating a chain of follow-up orders that other parties say, I want to have a copy of that one, then there you have a large series effect, and then really the cost can go down much more than of the traditional reactors, because this traditional reactor construction way is still relatively old-fashioned. You bring a lot of equipment, a lot of components to the site, and there you build the whole thing together. And the modularization is included there as well, but because it's so big, it's not possible to do it in full extent. So yeah, if there are enough, then the next question would, of course, be, well, what is enough? But I would think there will be well, it's not a break even, but a significant effect when you really go over 10 reactors of exactly the same type.
Yeah, super interesting. Yeah, wonderful. So I think we are coming to an end. Any immediate last questions, maybe from the audience? Something you want to share? Yeah, yeah. So very interesting. I think very interesting products or basically innovative projects that we have here from the panelists. Yeah, I like, of course, this modularity approach that also we have in the reactors, but also with Orkan. Yeah. And then quickly, so basically, thank you very much for the sponsors. Primarily Oxna Energietechnik and Orkan and Kelag, and then Scheuch and Siemens Energy, and then also on the customer side, CRH and Fundamax and Framatome, who are supporting us. Yeah. And making this possible. Yeah. And thank you very much for the speakers, for the excellent presentations, and also the keynote.